I have these friends, Dan and Sheila. They're podcast hosts.
Welcome to Profiling Criminal Minds. I'm Dan.
And I'm Dr. Redmond.
And I'm just going to ask you a question straight off.
Okay.
Is this the week that Profiler became a really good show? Because this week, we're watching 3 episodes, just to be clear. We're talking about 3 episodes this week, which is 13 through 15, because 14 and 15 were a 2-parter.
Yeah, and we had to watch that.
You have to watch the second part after that first part. And plus, all 3 parts are fundamentally, they have a plot to go in the second half, but in the first half it is, they have a plot to, follow in the second 2 episodes, but they also continue the first episode's focused hunt for Jack.
Yeah.
In a very interesting way. Maybe we catch him. Who can say? We definitely don't catch him. We know for a fact we don't catch him. We'll get there. But yes, but it is like propulsive. It is like aggressively fast. These weeks of these episodes of television, like it moves like the show has never moved before, and it gets so crazy. Like, so amazingly bonkers in that third episode. Like, both halves of it are like the craziest thing I've seen in television in ages. So, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty impressed by this week's episodes of Profiler. So there we go. That's my jumping off point.
Okay, that's your jumping off point. I'm not sure that I was quite as impressed as you were, but yes, I mean, it is
bonkers this week.
Well, yes, I just wish Ally Walker
was a better actress. Yes, no, I mean,
yeah, and and that reminds me, I know why you keep saying Medium. Because it now is the same problem as on Medium. Can't stand Allison.
I know, but we love the supporting cast.
And well done
plots. Yeah.
Well done plots. And that's exactly what it is. It's the Arquette problem.
Yeah. But there, it was the character was written to be insufferable. Here, yes. I really think it's a performance issue.
Yes, I know. You know,
I stand by the statement that
disagree with you.
Either a better actress or someone just being directed better, we would have a better lead performance. Like, that's the thing.
In this show.
In this show, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Like, I can't hesitate. Whereas with Medium, the frustration is that she is written to be a monster.
Well, yes, and she is written, and the character that she is playing is a real person, and the real person was an advisory.
Signed off on this performance,
signed off on all of this, and I'm going,
how?
Okay, so
how would you sign off on this portrayal of you?
Of yourself. Yeah, I don't know, but she did.
Oh, it's crazy. All right, so.
Okay.
Let's dig into it. This show picks up exactly where the last one left off, which is... And again, I was very impressed at how this show is moving, because a normal show might find out that they're under surveillance and then make us wait a couple of weeks to follow up on that. But no, we were literally complaining last week about how they're not taking Jack seriously enough. This week they're like, no, none of us can go home until Jack is caught. Period. Yeah,
it's like they heard us 30 years ago.
It's crazy, right? Oh my God, it was so wonderful. Yeah, like they're going for it. They're like, no, nothing is stopping until we catch him.
Well, it was so weird though when it opens up and you're going, what the hell? What are they doing in?
Yeah. Why are
they're
people
all
sleeping?
Including Chloe.
Yeah.
And it is her name, Chloe and Angel.
Chloe. Yeah.
You know, they're all sleeping in
the office.
In the office.
And then you realize, oh my God, this is just like, now this is their lives because they recognize that they are under a persistent threat.
Yeah.
Oh, loved it.
Yeah, so it was okay. Keep going. No, I'm just sort of sitting here because I'm convinced I know
Okay,
Jack
we'll
is.
get there. We'll get there.
But it is that first episode.
It moves.
You see, it's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard. It moves quickly. And then the next two, but then I watched, it wasn't so. And then when I got to the second episode, I said, well, we got to watch the third.
Yeah.
But the first episode.
What I loved about the first episode was, like, these guys are coming up with active, well thought out, interesting plans to try and get Jack. And so they go to a place. They're like, how can we provoke Jack? Okay, well, he's obsessed with you. Have Julian McMahon kiss you in public. Yeah. Right? We know he's always watching you, so this'll get him angry. You know, this'll get him coming at me. But the idea, right? So they get him on the phone, and Jack offers. So they search all of their houses, right? Yeah. And find out that all of their houses are bugged. All of their houses have camera. All of their houses have little messages there.
Yeah, I mean, that was funny. Like the one in the bathtub.
Yeah, like the one in the bathtub. You know, see, exactly. It was
it was very clever.
Very well done. So then they're like, okay, well, he went after Bailey, right? He went, right. So let's get him going after Julian McMahon. Because if we can decide who he's going after for him, that gives us an advantage rather than if we're letting him be in the driver's seat. And that, again, logically, perfect sense. So I'll kiss you in public, and then boom, we'll get him targeting me.
Me.
Right. And so Jack gets on the phone and offers to meet her, but under his terms. And of course, he's already come face to face with her once, right? Yeah. Well, he looked at her from 5 feet away, but it was pitch black; she couldn't see him. But the point is, he's been willing to do this before, and so they've got this plan. Which I mean, when I heard this plan, I'm like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. Which is, okay, well, he's obviously going to lure you into a building to talk. So what we're going to do is, we are going to have an MRI machine in the van following you.
No. MRI machines can't do that.
No, I don't think they can do that. I'm pretty sure they can't do that, but it's a great...
Anyone who's had an
MRI. No, and they say that, but to be fair, they say that in the episode. They're like, what, are we going to go drag him to a hospital and make him sit in the machine? They're like, no, we can use a giant portable one in a truck to fire magnetic waves out as long as we know roughly where he is in the building. I'm like, I don't think that's true.
No, I can't imagine. No matter how you did it, that would be possible because they have to be concentrated. I was so stupid.
I don't know. But I mean, it leads to something
What
fun.
The hell? So, as you say, bonkers plot.
Bonkers plot. Right?
And what was that?
No, but the second part of the plot I also loved. Right? I also love the second half of the plot, which is obviously he's going to have her, like, prove that she's not wearing any kind of a tracker. So we've got to find out some way to track her. And what they come up with is, essentially, you put a crystal under her skin. A crystal that essentially vibrates really not noisily, but it's like has a sympathetic vibration when hit with a very specific radio frequency. So it's not active. It's not an active piece of technology, but when they fire a radio signal at it, at her general area, it will have a noticeable detectable ping. Again, I don't know if this is true, but it's an amazing plan.
What the hell, sci-fi? Every now and then you can get a little sci-fi.
Who knows? I mean, the Millennium Group always had future sci-fi technology. That was part of the plot that they had already mapped the human genome in the late 80s. So, you know, like we're at the bleeding edge here. In any event, I found it a charming idea and I love that they did it. All right. So here's where it gets great. So she goes and we have this one of those wonderful cop movie sequences where she's being run ragged and sent from place to place, right, to keep her from being tailed. It's fun to watch. She's, keeping her desperately hitting the gas to get to the next thing before he leaves. And so she goes to the meeting room, and he's standing there behind glass, and she hears him over speakers talking to her. And, he does the normal thing. We've seen it's not meaningfully different from the interaction they had last time. Just he's obsessed with her,
And he's 2 floors up.
Yeah, he's 2 floors up. He's obsessed with her. Like, it's the same creepiness that he's done the whole time. Yeah. So the cops bust in because Jack is in there, but they wait until they get the MRI of his face. Right? And so the cops bust in. But he manages to escape through a hole tunneled into the floor into the building next door, where he presumably used a vehicle to escape from. So there you go. So he got away. But now they've got an MRI of his face. Right? And they take the 2D thing, and they have Angel, of course, who's a talented sculptor, take that 2D thing and try and turn it into a 3D face. Which, they're getting Angel involved in the plot. This is all this is making me happy.
Well, she's there,
She's there anyway. Might as well.
And she's run away once, and she's come to terms with it, so she'll be there.
She's going to stay, and that's great. And I mean, for the love of God, we actually get a scene where she's like, hey, you're going to adopt Chloe if Jack kills me when I go on this meet, right?
Yeah, that was yes.
Just these nice character beats. And she's like, of course. No, it's fine. Yes. Really, really enjoyed that segment. So they get the head, and now they have the issue, which is, can I get my daughter to look at this, model head?
Yes.
I'd be willing to look at the model head. And she, of course, is still resistant. But Bailey is like, I know you want to protect her, but the only way to protect her is to get Jack.
No, well, yeah, and let's give this whole thing the full force of she is I want Chloe to have a normal life. I don't want her to think about this again.
Exactly. She's so
and I'm
blinkered.
Just going, I want her to just forget. And Bailey says to her, that does no good.
Yep.
She's having nightmares. She will it will always be there unless she talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of Allie finally has to go.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I guess I have to do this.
Well, she knows better.
Does.
And that's the thing. Sam knows better, right? She absolutely does know better, but she wants to live in denial. Because she doesn't want to accept how her daughter has been damaged, because her husband's already been killed. So she doesn't want to admit that there's this possibility that her daughter has been irreparably damaged.
Well, she wanted it somehow or another. She just wants it to be a nightmare. Exactly. You don't have a nightmare you don't see a man walking in your bedroom.
No.
And walking there,
mm-hmm.
and being at the window if there isn't a reality behind it. And I don't know, yes, as I said, I don't find Sam a very sympathetic character.
She's not. It's a problem.
it's a problem here. I mean.
But she does do the right thing.
Yes.
And let her look at the picture.
Well,
statue.
she looks, yes, and Chloe says no.
That's not him.
And then she shows her the picture of
Cowboy Jack.
Cowboy Jack, we'll call it. Cowboy Jack.
And that's the costume he was wearing.
Yeah.
And we find out that 100% yes, that's the costume he was wearing. So there you go. Oh my golly, love this part. All right, so now they go back to plan A, which is get him to target Julian McMahon. They put out a message, right? They have him, leave a fake message on his answering machine, which they know that Jack is listening to. A fake message on his answering machine saying, be at your cabin at X time. I'll meet you there. I have important message about Jack from his partner. And so then he just sits there and waits. And as predicted, right? The guy comes up and shocks him and throws him in a trunk and takes him away to be tortured and killed and claims that he's Jack when Julian McMahon wakes up. But then right after he's claimed that he's Jack, he gets a phone call and we immediately know it's from Jack. So there you go.
Yeah. So it's not Jack, but
we know it's not Jack.
Yeah.
There is
and the guy says, yes, there were no whatevers. And, exactly. It's all this business of these tracking things, right?
Yeah. There were no trackers on him. I stripped him. I checked for, because Jack doesn't know how they were followed, how the cops got there the previous time.
Yes.
Right?
And of course, Julian has the crystal as well.
Exactly. He has the
There was a
crystal as
cute
well.
scene. It was a cute scene when the coroner puts it into him.
I really like
that was a cute scene. I mean, if you're talking about the things that make this episode, it's those little moments.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it's full of those. Like Sam talking to Angel, Sam having to face up to how she's, not seeing reality when it comes to her daughter. The little bits with Julian McMahon impulsively kissing Sam in public to get Jack's attention. Like it's a very lively episode, and it's full of these interesting character moments. Like it's more so because they don't have, I mean, I know it's weird to say they don't have a case of the week when they're actively chasing Jack all week, but they really don't. Like there's not a lot of backstory or new characters to introduce this week. They can focus on showing us the characters by how they respond to this very specific stressful situation. And so, I mean, I could argue that this is probably the best episode of the show we've had so far.
It's the most cohesive.
Oh, absolutely. There
have
been some good
probably.
episodes, but I think this might be the best overall episode because of the pacing and because of the great character work they're doing. But anyway, we'll...
I agree with you. I was just drinking something.
All right. So then, of course, he's on the phone with Jack talking about the situation. And, Jack wanting to know, how he is... and wanting to make sure he got in without any trouble, make sure he wasn't followed, blah, blah, blah. And then the cops jump in, bust the door down and shoot the killer to death, right? Yeah. Shoot the would-be fake Jack to death. And they find out it's not Jack immediately, right? He's a known criminal. And he's a known criminal. His fingerprints are on record. He's not the same blood type. It's not Jack, just period. There is no way in which this could conceivably be Jack. They know right away. And she knows before she even gets all the evidence, just the fact that he was on the phone with somebody seemingly taking orders means it wasn't Jack, and it was somebody Jack sent. Like, she's onto it right away. Like, so that was him by the radio in the place where the meeting was, and it was this guy who was pretending to be Jack talking to her, which is why he was completely in shadow. Yeah. Because he knew it was a trap. I mean, well, not a trap. It was he wanted to talk to her, and and of course she went along with it. So he knew the cops were going to try and get there, and he didn't know whether it would be successful, but he wasn't going to take the chance of going himself, which makes sense. But being able to identify this guy allows them to find surveillance camera footage of him talking to somebody in a station wagon. And the guy in the station wagon, I know, they were able to get the license. It's registered to a nunnery. Well, no, it's an orphanage, but whatever. Is it an orphanage or a nunnery?
No, it's an orphanage run by nuns.
Orphanage, yeah, because there's a nun there. Both. I was confused. Yeah, so it is kind of both. It's an orphanage run by nuns. And so they go there to investigate the orphanage, and nun's like, I'll have our handyman take you around, right, show you the place. And of course, the handyman is Jack.
Well, yes. Well, we don't.
Oh, we know that the second we see his, cut away to the lair, right? We know second we cut away to the lair.
Yes.
This is the lair we've been seeing the whole time.
Yes, right? But his face again looks different.
Oh no, it's obscured. Like we don't see him. No, he's obscured. But it's Jack, and then we get again. I know every week I talk about the money this show has to spend. I know. It blows my mind. So they go into the lair, right? Yep. And the minute they go into the lair, all of the doors automatically lock. And acid starts pouring from the walls. Melting everything around them, sending gas everywhere. And all of the doors are metal and solid, so they literally have to pick up pieces of furniture from the room and break through the acid-damaged walls to escape. And I'm like, just from a production standpoint, how much time this would have taken to set up and execute.
But let me put it this way.
2 minutes of a TV show.
Yes, and this is equivalent to Piranha.
It is, except it's more ambitious than Piranha.
Even more ambitious than Piranha.
You know, this giant sealed room, and then, like, you got Robert Davi actually
in the room.
Oh, exactly. That's what makes it more ambitious.
Yes, like, it is just unbelievable.
The amount of decoration they've got.
Yes, and setup and everything else. And so they figure they know it's Jack.
Yeah.
Who's been this janitor. This is where he's been living.
And they see all of the evidence. There's mementos of his crime. There's all of the stalker photos. There's the maps he had of their houses and like everything. Everything
is there.
Yeah. And so just like all of the stuff we've seen in all of the previous episodes, they pop it all on the walls and on the tables and the workbenches. Like, it is just packed with Easter eggs. Just an amazing job the production designers did on this set. And then they just destroy it all with acid.
Yes, and they break through the walls.
And they smash through the wall and escape.
Yes, and Sam manages to take a few things with her.
Yeah, but unfortunately, there is only one relevant piece of evidence, tragically. Yeah. They've got, we find out they have samples of his hair, which is good, so they'll be able to get a DNA match later. But they only have one key piece of evidence, and that is a medical degree from Savannah College sometime in the 1970s.
Yep.
So there you go. And they're like, none of his victims went to Savannah College. None of his known victims went to Savannah College. It was in a frame, and so their logical assumption is, and it's not a bad assumption,
nope,
that this must be his actual diploma, meaning...
Because
at some point.
Isn't. Yes, it's something he's proud of.
It's something he's proud of. It was kept in a frame on the wall. It was not part of his... what do you call I'm looking for the right word. His planning bench. What do you call the bench where the thing where he keeps his web of madness. His workbench. His
workbench for this entire...
For the entire show so far.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And so now Jack is on the run, and they're confident they're going to find him because he's lost his lair, and they have a piece of information they can use to identify him. So, gotta say,
because the lair has burned up.
Yeah.
It's burned on top of the acid. He then sets it on fire.
It gets set on fire. Yeah. So there's only this one major piece of evidence left. It's off and running.
Yep. It's off and running. And then we move to the next episode.
Yeah. Oh, the other two, Well, I was going to say the other, it's the start of the next episode where we see the other two pieces of evidence. They find a doll with a name on it. And more importantly, in that doll is a diamond. Right? In that doll is a diamond. But it's a diamond that's still in its setting. And there's a registration number on the diamond, so they're going to be able to find out who bought this diamond. And so, like, boom, another link, because they don't know which victim it relates to. So this is going to be a huge link for them. All right. Next episode starts. They're called in by the Secret Service. You know, they just want to work in the Jack case, but they say this is unbelievably urgent. The Secret Service has called them in to work on a guy who was crucified and then crushed with 10,000 silver coins.
I love James Coburn.
Oh my God, James Coburn's fantastic in this.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fascinating, right?
What a two-parter.
Yeah, in terms of the secondary plot.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, the non-Jack parts of this episode are amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this.
It's the first time the episode's willing to say, "Hey, turns out capitalism was the villain the whole time."
Well, it certainly is leading us to this. so they, so then that happens.
Yeah.
And then they have another one happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's
He's
get
a
through
teacher.
let's get through all of the Jack
Secondary.
stuff. Yeah,
the Jack
no.
stuff.
We'll do the Jack stuff second. You're right. Let's get through the secondary
Let's
plot
through
first.
the secondary plot because I want to run something by you. As I said,
Okay.
Never mind.
All right, we'll get there. All right.
Let's go through the James
secondary
Coburn
plot first.
Yeah.
The James Coburn plot first. All right. So the guy who's killed is a teacher who hasn't worked in like 10 years or so, or like 5 years, who hasn't had any visible employment in 5 years, but he's weirdly rich. Not only is he covered in silver coins, which he killed with, but he literally just took possession. His body was found by people delivering the $20,000 grand piano he just ordered. He has, and so they're like, how is he independently wealthy? They start looking into him, and it turns out he's being paid in perpetuity by somebody somebody works for James Coburn's evil corporation. So James Coburn is a power broker. Let's face it, the idea is Joe Kennedy style power broker.
Yep.
Yeah, and his son is a senator. And then that senator son gets shot to death.
Yep.
Gets shot to death. Pretty quickly after this first murder. And then it turns out that his body is absolutely packed with silver penny. Yeah.
No, I thought it was pennies.
Oh no, he was forced to swallow he was forced to swallow pennies, and he was shot with the silver shotgun shells.
Yeah.
Because they turned but he was also forced to swallow pennies.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it turns out his senator son, it looked like he was going to be impeached because he was so openly corrupt and a shame on the and like just a scandal.
The family.
The family, he was massively disappointing.
Yes, right? And James Coburn makes it clear that the children are never, like his legal children.
Yeah.
Right?
Are of no value. Yeah. And
he couldn't care less about any of them.
Yeah, he's not going to leave his fortune to them. So they go to the funeral, and almost nobody goes to the funeral because, again, this guy is he is scum. Known to be corrupt and scum, and nobody likes him. Oh, I love it.
So I mean, but by this point they have some idea there are 4 of them.
Oh no, they only find out there's 4 of them when there's the
third. Oh, the bank
third one. When they go to the casino and shoot everybody.
Yeah.
That's how they find out there's 4 of them. Right now, they still don't know how many killers there are. They don't know what's going on.
I thought there were. I don't know why.
I don't think they know there's 4
I guess
yet.
it's because we see the picture of these 4 children.
Yes. No, they know. They've got the pictures already. Because they found the pictures at the dead guy. Yeah, I should have mentioned that part. In the first victim's thing, they found evidence of him teaching 4 kids, 3 girls, 3 boys and a girl. But we don't know that all 4 of them are the killers yet. We don't know there are multiple killers yet.
Okay, but I mean, it's it because he has been tutoring these children, but nobody
creepy
knows.
Aryan, blonde-haired, blue-eyed children. In case you're wondering what's going on here, it's pretty obvious once we see how mid-witch cuckoos these kids are. Children of the damned vibes from these kids.
Yes, and so with the third one at the casino, I mean, they get faces.
Yeah,
they can see them. The kids, these 4 people aren't, and the girl
gets killed. Yeah, gets killed because it's a mobbed up place. Yeah, and they get some shots off in response to these 4 guys showing up. These 4 people showing up with shotguns. Who then leave, and they're like, what the hell is going on here?
I mean, it is weird. It is a massively entertaining, weird
episode.
Like storyline.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. And also, at the same time, Nick is back. Coop has returned. Oh, I was so happy that when Coop came back, because they think this might be terrorism related, and he's working this joint ATF and I guess CIA task force, because he's going overseas to look at bombings, because that's how a lot of terrorism is done. And he is the ATF's best bomb expert guy. So now he is their troubleshooter to go wherever to look at terrorism related bombs, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yes.
So he goes to, oh my God. They go to right, they've got a dead body, but then right after one of their number is killed and killing all the people in this casino, they just go and they shoot up a street in Louisiana and kill like 15 just tourists on the street.
As I said, for no reason, no apparent reason at all.
Because
except
all
this
of the
is how
other
they take out their anger.
Yes, well, as we find
and grief at the loss of their sister.
Yeah, as we find out. But at the first point, they're like, every single one of these murders up to this point has been directly related to James Coburn's family. Yeah. Right? But now they're just killing random people, and nobody can understand why.
So they go see James Coburn.
So they go see James Coburn, and he doesn't want to help. He has no interest in helping them. So they bug his office, leading to, again, money being spent, because he got A. Martinez on a harness rappelling into a building.
planting
a bug in James Coburn's office. Right? Yeah. And so they get footage of him talking on the phone and essentially trying to find out what they're doing and how to stop them. And it was just like calling and trying to figure out. So they trace
what's going on.
Yeah, essentially trying to figure out what's going on.
Because the kids are no longer
under
talking
control.
To him.
Yeah, they're not talking to him. He can't get them on the phone. He can't connect with them.
Yeah.
And so they go through all of his records. Right, and they're looking for suspicious payments. For example, one of the guns they find is they're these weird shotguns, right? Yeah. These weird shotguns that
Prototypes.
but pointedly, they have no serial numbers.
Yeah.
And as they say, right, this is the kind of thing that would happen if you had somebody at the factory make, 100 extra shotguns for some kind of a secret illegal order. And then just don't stamp you're making 500 shotguns, you make 600 shotguns, and you don't stamp the last 100 and they go out the back door for a cash payment. Right? And who the hell would ever know, right? And so Bailey's like, this is Black Ops, this is CIA stuff, so he calls his friend at the CIA to see what's going on, right? To see if he provides any leads. And of course it turns out that James Coburn, who's a power broker, who, gets senators and gets presidents elected, and it's like anybody in the government would always pick up his phone. Yeah, he got that way by doing favors for the CIA, and the CIA does favors for him. Because, as I said extensively when we were covering Wise Guy, the CIA is just the mafia for rich people.
There's a theme in a lot of what we watch.
There really is. No, but it's like, that's what the CIA, for normal rich people, the FBI is your CIA. The FBI is your mafia. For super rich people, i.e. for corporations, the CIA is the mafia. And you can question this, except if you look into the history of how the CIA was founded by the Dulles brothers, specifically to protect American economic interests abroad.
Yep.
And that's all it was ever for. They're like, no, the most honest thing you can say about the CIA is it's the mafia for corporations. All right. Or the concept of capitalism, if you want to be more general. So obviously his CIA buddy has all sorts of secrets. And since these guys are now mass murdering people, it's going to create too much of a fuss if the FBI doesn't stop it. So he hands over their secret files on James Coburn's businesses.
Yes.
And they managed to find these, that 20 some years ago, these 4 women were given all of these payments and sent to see these doctors. And they were all foreign. They were all foreign nationals. But one of them, right, became an American citizen, was a tennis star, became an American citizen, and still lives in America. So there's one of them who's going to be easy to fly to without having to leave the country.
Yes, and she is the mother of the
girl who was killed. And they know that before they go to see her, because in a ridiculous piece of technology, He's like, okay, what I want you to do is take this woman's face and blend it with James Coburn's face. Then the resultant blended thing de-aged by 30 years. Like, come on.
This doesn't work.
No, this is insane.
This is insanity. Genetics doesn't work like that. Those 23 chromosomes.
I know. It's just not how science works, guys.
I mean, God.
All you had to do, and by the way, I would have accepted, and I guess they wanted to make it look fancy and sciencey, but it's like, all you had to do was make it so she looked a lot like her mother, which is a thing that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like, plenty of women look like their mothers. Plenty of men look like their sons. All you have to do is say, oh, she looks uncannily like her mother. Done.
Yeah.
You did not have to do this ridiculous genetic blending de-aging sequence. That's completely preposterous. But anyway, so
Sci-fi.
we do that. Yeah, just like, well, I mean, you could even de-age the current picture of the mother and say, oh my God, it looks uncannily like her. There, that would be all you needed to do.
That would have done it, yeah.
All right, so they go and they see her, and we find out that she was hired, right, to essentially get inseminated with an anonymous person's sperm and give birth to a quote-unquote genetically perfect child. And we find out that James Coburn is running his own Elon Musk-style future of humanity breeding program. But the difference is...
He doesn't have sex with them.
He doesn't have sex with them, exactly. It's not part of his own twisted perversion here. No. I mean, it is a twisted perversion, but it's not about controlling women. It's about essentially
creating
ensuring the future.
Children.
Well, no, but not just perfect children, but ensuring the future looks like him. And essentially, his kids were such scumbag wastrels, and so obviously unfit. Right, by the time they were in their teens, he has completely dismissed the idea, and he thought that, he even suspected maybe his own influence on them, because he wasn't perfect enough. So he's like, I'll raise them without any corrupting influences. I will have 4 genetically perfect children, and I will have them raised in a, scientifically determined sterile environment where nothing will corrupt them. And of course, that drove all of them insane.
Yes, it did.
It drove all of them insane. Yeah.
They had the teacher, and the teacher would. I mean, this
they
guy
must have had a
teacher.
bunch of teachers. They must have had.
No, and they would have had nursemaids and cooks and everything else, because we do find out that the thing is okay. Where did he raise them? Because these children are in no databases.
Nope.
No,
they
nothing.
Don't exist
so
anywhere.
They do find an island that is owned by a corporate, owned
it's by three levels down of holding companies he owns.
Yeah. Okay. But it still goes back to James Coburn.
Mm-hmm.
And, unlimited money. I tell
exactly.
you. Anyway, so they decide, because this man, the teacher, was one of these petty tyrants as a teacher. Mm-hmm. He's their first kill.
That's why he was their first victim.
Yeah. And they have worked out that money is at the root of all of their problems.
Yep.
And so they're attacking money.
Yeah.
Corporations, the greed.
The greed of his company.
It's weird. And these 4 children, because they're raised without any other children, have no other influences except one another. It reminds me, there's a couple of Star Treks like that.
Mm-hmm.
You get these
they are completely warped.
Yeah.
They are completely warped. They don't, all they can do, the only people they can communicate with are each other.
Yeah, and they even have their own language.
They even have their own language because, what do you do to pass the time in this creepy thing? Because it's the only way. If you live in a surveillance, that, by the way, that was the creepiest thing. And because the implication is, by far the creepiest thing for me in the episode, is that you live in this panopticon where you are being watched and trained from birth to be perfect, meaning that you don't have any moments to yourself. So of course these kids are going to invent their own language. It's the only privacy they can possibly have. But the joke is their dad can translate the language. They didn't actually have privacy. Even their secret made up language. He just knows he's able to have people figure it out for him. I love that moment because it's like, yeah, this is how broken they were by this man who was obsessed with, again, creating a perfect world.
And it was weird because they break down the other three mothers, right? One was a musician, one was an artist. I'm going, these are the people that you wanted to create your perfect world.
Yeah.
I don't understand the
Athletes
selection
and
process.
Artists and poets. Well, no, you do. He wanted philosopher kings. This is the Socrates idea, that they would get all of the most, they would get all of the most prominent people together and have anonymous children. And then those children would be raised by, he's literally doing
raising
Socrates.
them in a kibbutz.
Exactly. Raising them in a kibbutz, not by their parents. They would be the most prominent and talented people would have children. They would be raised by a person who existed only to teach them how to lead. And then they would be our philosopher kings. He's literally doing.
That's right. Yes. Republic. I didn't even think that far into it. But yes, but then he should have had more than 4.
He should have had more than 4. And he shouldn't have assumed that he should be their father. But his ego means he has to be their father.
Yes.
It has to be his children who are creating the new, better world.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this monstrous abuse they had their entire life. They know that money is responsible for it all, so they go after his real children, and then they go after the money.
Yep.
Because they want to burn it all down.
And I would assume they want to burn him down too.
Oh, absolutely.
He's harder to get to.
Of course. Well, yeah. He's completely impossible to get to. That's the nature of it. So they find out that one of his businesses is a TV station that basically just runs infomercials all day. And so they just plan to go and kill everybody there. Which, okay. Then the cops show up. I understand the reasoning. The cops show up and they have a gunfight with the cops and they drag James Coburn there. Right. They drag James Coburn there to try and talk his insane kids down. And by this point, they're down to just 1. And we have this horrifying moment where it's I have no idea how to talk to them because, I can't relate to my own children. I did all of this.
And I can't even relate.
I can't speak to them. And so Sam literally has to, Cyrano him into explaining what to say to talk this kid down. And it works, and the final kid surrenders, and who the hell knows what's going to happen to him now? Seriously. What the hell is going to happen to that kid?
I don't know.
Yeah, because he's too rich to suffer normal consequences for his actions, but he's publicly killed a lot of people. But then again, if there's anyone that James Coburn could make disappear, it's the kid who never existed when you've got 2 other bodies to say they were responsible for the shooting. So I'm just saying, I don't think that kid's going to jail, but I don't think that's a happy ending for anybody.
No, and Coburn does disappear.
Exactly. He'll...
so we assume...
He'll figure something out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's going to be a sequel to this. I don't think there is.
No.
But... It's a crazy episode.
It was crazy. It really was. And you just go, okay. Yeah. But in the meantime, we go back to...
But before we get there, before we move on to that, I just want to point out how weird it is that both Millennium and this show had one really similar plot in that the basic premise of this is actually pretty similar to Force Majeure.
Yeah.
I just find that kind of weird. That the basic premise of this episode is it's not dissimilar to Force Majeure. Obviously, the people in Force Majeure were not monsters.
In this sense.
Right? But they had the same basic idea, except here the kids weren't all clones.
Yeah,
but they might as well have been.
Yeah. It's the boys from Brazil without being clones.
Exactly. It basically is.
Yeah.
All right. And again, it's the guy's, it's all about his narcissism. It's all about how, we didn't have Elon Musk to use as a comparison yet at the time. Right.
No.
Although I got to say, fiction has been good at predicting Elon Musk for a really long time before he actually existed. There's this with his insane control the future breeding kink. There's Die Another Day, the James Bond movie, where the villain is literally Elon Musk.
Yeah.
But it happened in 2002, long before Elon Musk was the world's problem.
Well,
they just accurately predicted it.
Well, it's why I like science fiction, right?
Yeah,
you watch
you can predict a type of guy,
and you can predict certain things if you take the really negative effects, the negative consequences of, and that's what they were doing.
Money and technology.
There were people, money and this technology, and you could see where this technology was going to go.
Yeah, and then it's only a matter of time till a guy as vacant and scumbaggy as Elon Musk makes the fantasy a reality.
Yes, and now he is, as they say, Donald Trump's right-hand man. Co-president, yeah.
We'll see how that goes. Anyway, speaking of one politics thing, they tried to do a coup in Korea. South Korea.
I saw that yesterday, and I would have brought it up at some point. But yeah, I'm just looking at this, and they're going to military because they don't like the fact that they're losing power.
Yeah.
And the assembly just had a absolute. But they
defeated.
Reaction,
we would do this on a Sunday show. Yeah, they defeated it immediately because he didn't get the military to buy in on his coup. He didn't He just tried to do a coup without getting the military on board first. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again: standing militaries are a bad idea. Having a standing military is a really bad idea. Only bad things happen. No good thing has ever happened because your country had a standing military. Well, we were able to fight World War II. No, you weren't. Standing military wasn't able to fight World War II. You had to draft 40 million people to fight World War II. Yeah. Nothing good happens because you have a standing military. Just putting it out there.
Well, and the other thing I will say is, my reaction was, I can't wait to see this on Korean drama.
I know! The Korean dramas that are going to be doing this about this. All right, I'm not saying I'm a terrible person, but the minute I heard about the coup, my literally first... Well, it was attempted coup, yeah. He didn't pull it off, but still,
No.
It is a coup. My first thought was, God, I hope this doesn't affect the release date of season 2 of Squid Game.
No, and I'm going... But no, I think that
the dramas about it are going to be great. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think and there have been others, right? Still
talking about the military. Yeah.
But the military, I think, is really in South Korea. Like the culture is so different.
Of course.
I think that the military is a lot more reticent than you would have thought maybe it would be. Yeah. And I think that the prime minister of Korea, or the president of Korea, assumed that the military would be in favor because there is this right-wing strand. I could tell you some South Korean dramas that followed this through. Oh my God, there's one. I can't remember its name now, but that this was there. And yes, it is. There is, of course, a money class that is very right-wing or very autocratic or would like to control everything. Well, you even see it in Vincenzo.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But the military is ultimately, I think they really learned a lesson from having their own particular coup and being overthrown.
Yeah. I think you're probably right about that.
And so that they now are... It is in
gun shy vis-a-vis that.
Yeah, in terms of controlling controlling South Korea.
But this is all stuff that happened 3 months ago. It's just, it happened yesterday while we're talking.
This happened, yes.
So
yeah,
it's,
for you
it's
guys.
at the front of my mind. For you, it was
Yes.
3 months ago. For us, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
All right. So,
It was just like, what?
What?
And, oh, okay. The assembly shut it all down.
thank
The president
heavens.
has resigned, and the military is
More importantly,
not
and this
gonna
is the part
support
that made
this.
me happy, 100,000 people got out on the streets
Oh, yeah.
immediately, even though he announced his, coup at 11 p.m.
Yeah, at night.
100,000 people were out on the streets immediately. That made me happy about the state of the Korean state, I'm going to say. All right. So let's get to the Jack content. All right.
Yes.
So we pick up it's a two-parter, and as you can see, there was 2 episodes worth of content there. Meanwhile, they're trying to find out where Jack is. So
Yes.
they hear, we see Jack go to a trailer in the middle of the night. Somebody reports a gunshot. Jack has killed somebody in the trailer who saw him. It was clearly like he's got all of it. Well, because he needs someplace to hide and do his makeup and change his appearance, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes back on the run, and they look at the various pieces of evidence. So they've got this thing from 1970 something, right? This diploma.
Savannah. The
From
diploma.
Savannah University,
Medical.
Savannah College, medical school, medical diploma, right? So he is a trained doctor. Whether or not he's a practicing doctor, that's another conversation. The diamond proves to be a much better lead because they're able to track it to the victim of a serial killer. This woman's serial killer was one of those doctors, was one of those doctors who kills his patients. And maybe she found out, maybe something happened. He beat her nearly to death. And then he disappeared. And then supposedly he fled to Costa Rica and killed himself. She was in a persistent coma for 2 years. Then she woke up, but she had bad brain damage and couldn't remember anything. And then one day she wandered off from the hospital and was never seen again.
Yeah.
And this diamond is from her. And so they're like, but here's the kicker. This doctor got his medical degree from Savannah College.
Yep.
In 1979.
Yep.
So he could be Jack. And that is what they start operating on. That's why he kept this diamond. That's why he kept the thing, because this was one of his early victims. And so the idea is his spot got blown up by his girlfriend, who he beat almost to death, and he rebuilt himself as a new serial killer. Right? He became Jack of all trades. That is the plan they're operating on.
Yeah, and the thing is that here's the thing. He supposedly was killed in
Costa
Rica. They go down to Costa Rica.
They find the body.
It's not him.
Yeah.
No, it's not him.
So they know
his
he's
name
still
is
alive.
Keller, I think. Okay?
Yeah, I think his name is Dr. Keller. Yes.
Dr. Keller. It's not him. So then they can build on that and say, okay, so he came back to the United States. He faked his own death. He came back to the United States and became Jack.
Jack. That is their assumption. So meanwhile, we see Jack pretend to be a FAA official talking to a pilot who wants to take off and ask him to file some new paperwork, but it's really just to get him alone so he can hijack the plane.
Yeah.
And fly it to Costa Rica and slash the pilot's throat and ditch the plane. So it's looking more and more like this might be the guy. They're doing a great job. They're doing a great job making it look like him. But then in one of leave it to this show to have the most creepy thing in the entire show just be, and this is an incredibly creepy episode because it's the one about, the Stepford kids, not Stepford, again, the Midwich kids. Right. Yes. The creepiest thing in the episode is they're going, to talk to the hospital where this doctor worked, right? Where Dr. Keller worked. And at the hospital, right? Sam happens to notice that the skeleton has a nameplate, and the nameplate is like Savannah Susie or something like that.
Yeah.
But the important part is Susan was the name of the woman with the diamond who was beaten half to death. And she's like, hey, where did this skeleton come from? And the doctor's like, I don't know. It's a medical skeleton. Got delivered. It's been here forever. And so they check the dental records, and yeah, it's the missing woman. So just oh my God. Just that he kidnapped this woman out of the hospital because he failed to kill her and murdered her and stripped all of the flesh and, flesh and blood and everything from her body, and then had the skeleton delivered to where he used to work so that everyone would be standing next to one of his victims without ever knowing about it. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no.
That's
the
creepy.
writing, the writing team is doing a bang up job.
Oh, are they ever? Wow.
Coming up with stuff, right?
Oh my
that
God.
just keeps it creepy, but keeps moving.
Mm-hmm.
It all makes sense.
Yep. All right. So, oh my God. So they go down, to the Costa Rican government. They know Jack's there because he flew the plane there and he slashed the guy's throat. They find out that, of course, the guy's the pilot, right?
Yeah.
Right. Is a talented pilot. So, and his shack, they find out where his shack is out in the middle of nowhere. So he could have been flying back and forth to America to be Jack all the time, and no one would have any way of knowing about it because small private plane, Costa Rica ain't very far. You could just fly under the radar the whole way, right? Yeah. You could fly 100 feet off the ground the entire way to America across the ocean, park it in Texas, and be able to just do whatever. Yeah, so it's Texas, Florida, Louisiana, who the hell knows? So they go down to Costa Rica because the Costa Rican government is able to find this guy's compound, and they go to raid the place. There's technology everywhere. There's technology everywhere. There's surveillance everywhere. They chase him through the jungle. They find him. Sam considers executing him, but doesn't. Yeah. And they take him in, and they're very happy to have caught Jack.
So everybody goes
home. Everybody gets to go home. She tells Angel it's over. She, comforts her daughter. It's all very, very, it's all very pleasant and very nice. And then she finds out that she's not going to get to work in the prosecution, right? Because she's too close to it, which, I get that. I understand that. Makes sense to me. But that means she's allowed to talk to him.
Yeah.
And she goes to talk to him. And he's creepy as ever. But the thing that's weird about it is he refuses to talk about his victims. And
not only does he refuse to talk about his victims.
Yeah. He's very cagey,
go on.
Right? He's very
and then
cagey.
he more asks her questions opposed to.
Exactly. He wants to have questions from her rather than bragging the way he tend to historically. And so then, right, in the way they tie it into, she's in bed with Nick.
Yeah.
Right, and he talks about how the most, pathetic thing that he'd ever seen, right, is that James Coburn had no idea how to talk to his child, and you had to put words in his mouth. And I gotta say, I have seen so many TV shows where someone says a sentence, right? And then that tips off the person to the thing they should be thinking about. Right? So for me, I think this is one of the more elegant ones I've seen because it's completely organic that he would say that. And it, of course, clues her in exactly the right way. She realizes that this guy obviously knows nothing about Jack's crimes. She goes to the surveillance video of the DA who's prosecuting Jack, or the state's attorney who's prosecuting Jack, and his meeting with him, his first interview with Jack, who offered to represent himself and so didn't have a lawyer present when they were talking. Right? And here's where it gets interesting. She sees him there talking about Jack's various victims to the guy. And she realizes, oh my God, the reason he doesn't know anything, right, but can name a couple of the victims is because this guy gave him the information about Jack. This guy told him about Jack's victims. This guy is why he's able to pretend to be Jack to the extent that he can. It's obviously not Jack.
But remember, her first clue when she's talking to this guy is that he asks her about her husband. And so does that come after that?
No, that comes after, because what happens is she goes in and she watches the whole video and she realizes he never used my husband's name. He said, I killed your husband, but he didn't use my husband's name. And this guy didn't use my husband's name either. So she's like, I bet he doesn't even know my husband's name. And that's what she goes in to confront him with, to prove that he's not Jack. She's like, I'll believe you're Jack if you can just say his name. And he can't. And he tries to pretend that he is Jack. And he tries to say, oh, you'll be haunted. You'll never know. But she's already sure. She knows 100% this isn't him, which is a bad, situation, because now she's back to scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. And then we got our final scene with Jack in his new penthouse apartment, and his picture and his glass of champagne and his picture of Sam, because he's pulled it off and he's gotten away, and the games can resume. What an ending. Oh my God. Oh, and I gotta say, we'll just before we get into the Jack stuff, briefly mention the C plot in these 2 episodes were, again, Nick's back. We love Nick.
Yeah.
We think Nick's fantastic. I was worried we were never going to see him again. So I was really happy to see him back. And he continues being, I guess, the best boyfriend in history. Like, a cartoonishly, implausibly great boyfriend. Because he finally gets to meet Chloe and brings her an ant farm as a gift. Right? I thought that was nice. An ant farm as a gift. And oh my God, we forgot to mention one thing earlier, which we'll get to in a second. She brings an ant farm as a gift, and Chloe really likes him, and that massively freaks out Sam. Right? Unbelievably freaks out Sam and makes her want to pull back because she can't get her daughter, interested in a man, interested in this guy as a possible father figure who might disappear one day. It's like, it's a very believable emotional journey I think she goes on in this episode. Like, I totally buy her reticence, her hesitation. Like, I think it all makes sense. So that was a nice touch, but Nick is just endlessly understanding and also plays no games, because he's back from Riyadh or wherever, and he's like, I think we should resume dating. Just, that's where I am. Not gonna, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. I'm just like, here's where we are. I'm back in the country. I think we get along really well. We should resume dating. It's so great to see adults having adult conversations. And just being straightforward about stuff. What's that? I am going to hate. Okay, please. Oh my God. I'm very going to hate what you're going to have to say. Please. All right. So now we can get into the Jack stuff.
So when I called you yesterday or the day before yesterday. You said you had a clue about... I said I was willing to put $5 down.
Okay.
Okay. Now, on that I'm going to take a wild guess at who Jack is.
Please.
Okay. And now I know that there is one big glaring problem with it, except that as we're doing this episode, I have resolved that problem.
Okay.
Okay. But I got to the end of the second episode, like the two-parter. And I went, fuck, Nick is Jack.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah.
Oh, you think, okay. And so this other guy is someone who he uses? Like, what?
So, okay, now here's
Jack does use people.
But yet that was the thing for me was when they were on the train. Remember the episode where they're on the train and he comes and sits beside him?
Yeah, the train station,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were all terrified. It's Jack and he's sitting beside him. Well, that was one of those things that I'm going, okay, but how could that happen? But then I started to go, okay, Jack does use other people. And who knows, the Keller thing, after all, he had even Keller, he had the certificate at the nunnery, at the orphanage. He had the ring,
Yeah.
right? They found the
I
ring
mean, he created this elaborate thing to frame Keller.
to frame Keller. Okay. And Jack also, but the thing is that Nick, at one point in the first part of the two-parter, when he meets Chloe and Chloe wants him to tell, to read the nighttime story, right? Her bedtime story. And he says, well, no, Chloe, I understand you're a really good storyteller, so I want you to tell me a story.
Okay.
And later on, Sam says to him, oh, I don't remember ever telling you that about Chloe. He said, oh, I'm sure you must have mentioned it somewhere along the line. And it just passes over. And she says, oh, well, okay. Because you're not going to remember every conversation you've had with somebody. But I listened to that. And then afterwards, and I thought, okay, like he says he's going away. And remember, we're talking about a cop, somebody who's got, so this guy
I mean, I do think Jack is a cop, but I could be wrong.
No. Nick has got connections with the ATF. Nick has got connections with the CIA. Nick supposedly goes to Riyadh. Supposedly. Does anybody ever check up on Nick?
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay, so, he might have been in Riyadh, but maybe he was down in Costa Rica.
Oh my God.
Setting everything up.
This is quite a theory. I mean,
no, it just hit me. I got the end of that second episode. I said,
I mean, yeah, it would have to mean that he has essentially another guy who he uses as essentially
he already
a cutout
had it
all the time.
Yeah.
But we've already seen him in the early episode using a cutout.
Yep.
Ooh.
So more than one cutout.
I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, I think you're crazy. And I will take that $5 bet. But you're making a persuasive argument. I'll take the $5 bet. I think you're crazy, but I get why you think it. And that is something that they have, whether that's what they're planning or not, like they could back out of this. If it is what they're planning, they could back out. And if it isn't what they're planning, you're right that they could absolutely do this without any trouble at all.
Because I'm not.
That works.
Yeah. And that would mean some brilliant 22 episode writing.
Yeah, if that's how they end up taking it. I don't know that it's going to. I'm still not convinced, but I'm going to start watching for evidence. See if Nick's back next week. I'll certainly do that.
Because what happens is that, as you said, and when you say he's almost too good to be true,
he's
as the perfect boyfriend.
Cartoonishly good as the perfect boyfriend.
And that would be what Jack would do. That would be
how Jack would play it. Yes. I mean, I totally get it. Like, I get how you got there, and honestly, you could be right. Wow.
I don't know if I'm right or not.
No, well, hey, we're going to find out.
Yeah, but I mean, I was just like, oh no.
And then next week, Nick gets blown up. No, obviously not.
Well, if he gets blown up next week, then he wasn't. I was wrong.
Unless it's one of those things where they get blown up to fake your death, as happens so frequently.
Yes, and so then she gets to mourn Nick.
Yeah.
And Jack is still there.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to see. Oh my God, we're going to see. Oh, this is fantastic. I'm loving it. Also, another nice writing moment that we didn't mention, her daughter's origin story for the dog. Her daughter's nightmare origin story.
Oh, jeez. Yes.
That it was, from another country where its parents were hunted to death.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my God. And her mother was hunted and killed, and her father tried to, get to her and died on the way. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening?
That's right. Well, no, what I'm saying is, Sam, your daughter's in trouble.
Yeah, if this is the story she's telling.
Yes, because she's telling you she's afraid you're going to die.
Yeah. Well, that's 100% what she's telling you. Oh,
and you're not listening.
God.
You're not listening, really Sam. You're not listening.
No, I think 100% she's not paying attention. Oh my God. So yeah, I am more impressed with these 3 episodes, both in how really wonderfully complex the Jack stuff was, and B, just how unbelievably crazy the James Coburn side of the story was.
I thought, and he was so good.
Yep.
he just played the patriarch, the crazy patriarch so well.
Crazy patriarch so well. Because the thing is, like, this one is obviously influenced by Plato's Republic, but famously, like, because there's, you know, they mention the Kennedys and not accidentally, and how, like, things didn't go well for the Kennedy kids. But
To say the
least, right? What's interesting is that, of course, while he was not obsessed with Plato's Republic and all of this, Bobby Kennedy famously did have this obsession with having as many kids as he could so that they could spread out and take over, like, America, basically. Because he was going to be president.
And look how that ended up.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it turns out his 11 kids, and given the amount he cheated on his wife, who the hell knows how many illegitimate children he had out there that we don't know about, right? Given that, I gotta say, like, he certainly made his best effort to do this kind of thing, Bobby Kennedy, and then he got killed and all of his kids went nuts, and now RFK is going to try to make it so all kids start dying of polio again. RFK, his son,
polio and measles,
and there's already kids dying of measles.
Yeah,
like, that's already happening because of his efforts. So yeah, it's gonna go bad. Gonna go real bad. So thanks for that one, Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah. Can't believe. Oh, I just finished watching the Rat Pack. I hadn't seen that.
Which one?
The Rat Pack. Have you ever seen that?
It
was
seen
an
the
HBO
Rat Pack movie. Yeah,
I hadn't seen it. Yeah, Joe Mantegna.
Yeah, with Joe Mantegna.
Ray Liotta.
And Ray Liotta. Yeah.
And I think Joe Mantegna sort of did. I would say.
Was Don Cheadle
yes,
Sammy Davis Jr.?
Sammy Davis Jr.
Which is weird, because then he went on to play the Sammy Davis Jr.'s essentially signed off part in Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat. But anyway, please continue.
Yeah. No,
Ray
I was
Liotta
just going to say.
As Frank.
Frank Sinatra and William Peterson as JFK.
Yep.
And Velchko Ivanek as Bobby.
Yep. Perfect casting for Bobby.
Yeah. So when I looked at all of that, right? Mm-hmm. Now I watched it again and I'm just going, now where did I go? But the Kennedys, where was I going to go with this? I just watched it.
There's something about
the
Kennedys.
I was saying Mantegna, no, he didn't. Every now and then he did his Dean Martin well.
Yeah.
But didn't quite
sell
there,
you on
right?
Dino. Yeah.
It was funny. It was, and you saw the mobbed up and you saw that it really ended kind of well. And
it's a good movie. The Rat Pack movie.
It's a good movie from beginning to end if you want to just understand part of the mythology. Mm-hmm. And it's not a mythology. I mean, this stuff all really happened. Now, some of the conversations would have been written.
Yeah. It's hypothetical conversations between people we know interacted this way. Because there have been a lot of books written about these people. Yeah, and
for sure, it was funny. I mean, Frank Sinatra was this weird person who, well, he was from, from Hoboken, New Jersey. He was, and it's just like
who reached a level of fame that is almost impossible to imagine.
Yeah, and
he was just
as
guy
a singer,
from Hoboken.
Yeah, and when you look, I mean, this is where some of the stuff that ends up in The Godfather, right?
Yep.
Comes from is the Frank
Johnny
Sinatra
Fontaine.
story.
Yeah.
Johnny Fontaine is really Frank Sinatra. Mm-hmm. But Frank Sinatra himself, in terms of as a singer, as I said, there were the two. There was Elvis and there was Frank.
Yeah.
And those two could pick a song and nobody else can really ever cover it.
Did. Yeah.
No, they didn't.
They had their own. They became the definitive versions of those songs.
Of their songs, and it is. And when at the end you see him thinking it's 2:45. Mm-hmm. Set him up, Joe.
Yeah,
the story.
Ray Liotta's great.
I want you to know Ray Liotta was just great. How I miss him because he got very sick before he died.
That was a gone too soon, Ray Liotta.
Yeah, for sure.
We miss you, Ray. All right, so
Okay.
we're going to wrap this up with
Yeah.
your fascinating prediction. Can't wait to see where this goes.
I don't often make predictions.
No,
'cause
I'm
really
very
iffy,
excited.
But I'm sort of
very
sitting
excited.
there.
I
God.
know. I understand your justification perfectly. So we're going to see where this goes.
Yeah.
For now, though, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if there's any profiling related fiction you'd like us to check out, drop us a line at profilingcriminalminds@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If, and this is a big if, you were listening on an app or podcatcher or watching it on YouTube, rate, review, and subscribe. That's how people find out about the show. We're going to see you back here for more Profiler next week. But until then, I'll say that's right. Au revoir.
And have a good week.